Divorce happens. In fact, it happens to almost 50% of first marriages. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Divorce Happens, a podcast to educate, inspire, support, and yes, make you laugh through divorce and beyond so that you can start fresh on the next phase of your journey. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh.
You get divorced. You get divorced.
Getting divorced?
I'm getting a divorce.
You're getting a divorce.
Because she's getting a divorce.
So what if I get divorced?
Hello. Welcome back to Divorce Happens, the show where we support you before, during, and after divorce with education, inspiration, and a little bit of laughter. We're here today with one of our Fresh Starts experts to talk about a holiday that is coming up that might be a little bit emotional for some people. Dr. Hoffman, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, Olivia. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Elana Hoffman. I am a psychologist and coach out of Washington, D.C., and I focus on the divorce during and after the process and helping people with the emotional aspect of divorce and of rebuilding afterwards.
Yes, so important. We're all about the rebuilding process. And I remember my first Mother's Day as a divorced or soon to be divorced woman. My girlfriend sent me flowers, which was so sweet, but it was such an awkward, uncomfortable, sad day. And I had my kids with me, but it was still it was so much grief.
Yeah.
Can you talk about Mother's Day in particular for divorced moms?
Yes, definitely. I think it's a really important thing to talk about. I think Mother's Day in general can be a very complicated holiday for a lot of people, a lot of women, but we will focus on divorced moms for the purposes of this conversation. Yeah, I think it can bring up a lot of stuff, a lot of grief, a lot of loneliness, a lot of, feeling like the burden is really, just you're holding it. You're holding the responsibility and kind of like single parenting in general after divorce, I think sometimes feels like, it's isolating in a sense of you do something and you look around and no one saw you do it, right? It's just, and not that, everyone should get a parade for any time they handled a kid tantrum in a functional way, but still, it's hard. It's really hard to not have that recognition that Mother's Day can provide when you are in a loving relationship and your partner is like, hey, you do all these things all the time and this is a day for you. And it's really important to recognize and celebrate. And so it can be hard without that. And of course, in the social media world that we live in, seeing all these posts about it can be difficult for people who are not, who are not in that situation, who are in a different situation. On the other hand, it can also be empowering. And, you can make it a day for yourself to do what you want. I mean, that if it involves kids, that's fine too. That's what it is. You can still do the things that you want to do. And, it can be freeing in a sense of no expectations of anybody else doing anything for you. And so in that way, it can be very empowering and uplifting too. So it sort of is what you make of it, but it's like anything involving divorce, lots of emotions and complicated.
Yes, it is a very much a both and situation.
Sure.
I think the part that a lot of women get stuck on is that what you just said, it is what you make of it, because we're not given permission to feel a lot of things on that day. And some of us might be like, oh, I actually don't have my kids today and it's fine. They're going to visit their other family with their grandparents. I'm going to go get a manicure and take a walk. And some women might feel just so sad, right? So what are some really gentle ways that we can take care of ourselves if we're feeling that heavy grief on Mother's Day?
Yeah, I think, it's always helpful to have a bigger perspective. It's hard. You are allowed, of course, to feel however you feel during that day. And also, the day will pass. Monday will come and, that day will be over. And it's kind of like other holidays with divorce, Christmas or whatever other holidays that you think are going to be a certain way that are not that way, and I think you can give yourself permission to feel how you feel and to do the things that make you feel confident and uplifted and valued. And if you also want to say, hey, this is just another Sunday with my kids, and we're doing the Sunday thing that we do every Sunday, and that is what we're doing, then that is also great. It doesn't have to be a thing. It can be if you want it to, and it doesn't have to be.
I love that. I love that. So, if there's somebody listening to this, and let's say it's her first Mother's Day divorced, and she's feeling so complicated inside, what would be some words of encouragement that you could leave her with?
I would just say, you're doing so great. And, single moms and dads and single parents in general hold so much and are not recognized with those things. And I just, everyone is kind of doing the best they can and doing their best to be a loving parent. And that in and of itself is important to recognize, like you're doing great and you got this and it's all okay. It's all, kind of gonna be okay.
I love that. Remind us again where you work, how you work, if anybody would like to work with you for rebuilding.
Yeah, so I am a fully telehealth practice, so I can practice therapy in any state that is part of SIPACT, and I do coaching as well, divorce coaching, so I can do that anywhere. So anybody who is contemplating a divorce or in the middle of it or on the other side and wanting to rebuild, I love working with those clients because we talk about things like this and, people need emotional support during this time and also help figuring out what to do in certain situations. And divorce, is thought of as such a terrible thing, and it is not always. And, you can rebuild and there's space, and you can decide that on Mother's Day, you just want to order takeout and sit, and that is great. And so, if you need help thinking those things through, a professional can help with that because you don't have to do it alone. And it's very hard to do alone. So I recommend that you don't. you know?
Agree, agree. And I would say don't do what I did on my first Mother's Day divorce, which is decide that's the day to show your kids Babe, which is not a movie that you should watch on Mother's Day, completely having forgotten the plot. My kids both looked at me with their big eyes like, this is what you chose to watch today. The mother dies. Um, Thank you so much, Dr. Hoffman. I think that so much of the work we do in divorce support is just giving that permission, right, to feel
Totally.
your feelings.
Yeah.
And this is just one of those days that is going to maybe feel icky for a little while. And over the years, you'll feel different about it. But we appreciate
Yeah.
all of your wise words. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Divorce Happens is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the only divorce registry platform for everything you need to begin again, including home items, hype team, and everything in between. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh. We're here to support you before, during, and after divorce. Head to freshstartsregistry.com for more info.